Very, very serious time over this next few days, and we need all Jamaica to band together, and most importantly, prayers up, up, up. Let me start with the airports. It is very important that persons know so that they can plan. So we'd have indicated this morning that both the Norman Manley International Airport and the Sangster International Airport in Montego Bay would remain open for today's scheduled flights. Subsequent to that, I've had a conversation with airports authorities before coming here, and a decision has been taken to close Norman Manley International Airport after the last flight that is scheduled to arrive in Jamaica at 8 p.m. tonight. So let me say that we would categorize it as 8 p.m. or the last arriving flight. So if the flight is delayed for any reason, it will be accommodated, but all flights will be accommodated today at both Norman Manley International Airport and Sangster International. So my recommendation for those of you who want to get back to Jamaica or to get out of Jamaica, try and change your arrangements to get out today, meaning Saturday. We will have a meeting at 2 p.m. today to discuss the closure of the Sangster International Airport, MBJ. So we will advise you after the 2 o'clock meeting today as to the closing time for that. This is important for many reasons, both for our locals to get in and get out, but also for our tourism industry. So as we speak now, they are trying, the hotels are in communication through the Ministry of Tourism to communicate with the airlines to make sure that they increase their capacity loads in terms of the different planes and configurations to try and get out as many of those that are vacationing in Jamaica and want to get out, obviously, before the storm or the hurricane. So that in itself will bring clarity, and I hope that this message will go out far and wide. The next one is for JPS, and I have an update that I received minutes ago that I will share with you. At 9 o'clock this morning, there were 275 customers without electricity, broken down as follows: 95 customers in the west, 40 in central Jamaica, and 140 in eastern Jamaica. There are no widespread outages at this time. Each outage addresses on average 2 customers. The major cause of outages are trees on lines due to the high soil saturation levels. Approximately 550 persons are positioned and responding. This includes JPS employees, local contractors, and overseeing overseas line workers, for which I can confirm that 71 are actually in Ireland as we speak, which is a big difference from Hurricane Beryl. There are no major incidents currently on the electricity system. System is stable and JPS has been responding accordingly. So, as of right now, we have a stable electricity supply, and basically the number of outages as we speak on the eve of a storm or a hurricane is actually lower than when we are not in this mode. So I'll keep the country updated fully on that. The toll, we are waiting and expecting to give a directive to open the toll booths closer to the time of the storm or the hurricane. As of right now, the buildup is not bad. We are monitoring it, and I have already signed an order that just needs to be dated so that it can be effected immediately. So once we see it, and I suspect probably closer to Monday, with the big impact coming between Monday night and Tuesday, that would when the necessity would arise. But more importantly, I'm also giving a directive that once the storm or the hurricane passes, that we open the toll for emergency services and, of course, other persons who want to go to check on their family, their businesses, etc. So we have a pre and a post plan for toll. JUTC is on standby in collaboration with ODPEM and the police to assist with evacuations, and I suspect evacuations will become more and more necessary as the weather event gets closer and closer. So I can say that that also is in place. So as it relates to the telcos and Petrojam and all the other reports I gave in the days recently, all remain on standby. Everybody is in ready position. And the only thing that I would say before closing is to make an appeal to all Jamaicans. Do not take this lightly. It is coincidental that we had 37 years between Charlie and Gilbert, and 37 years exactly between Gilbert and Melissa. Those of us who are around for Gilbert know exactly what, but there's many that did not experience it. So I'm saying to you, safety is priority, and being smart helps a lot. Don't make foolish decisions. Don't make stupid decisions, like coming out in the middle of the storm to see what's happening. Please, I'm making a special appeal because we are in a very, very serious time over this next few days, and we need all Jamaica to band together, and most importantly, prayers up, up, up for every single Jamaican and Jamaica, land we love. God bless Jamaica.
Thank you very much, Minister Vaz. We're now going to have what I know most people have tuned in for, which is the forecast from none other than Evan Thompson, and he'll be followed by his minister, Minister Samuda. Evan, we're all stressed out. Please come and tell us what is going on and when we will expect rain, when we'll get wind, when this hurricane or tropical storm will start affecting the country. So please welcome Evan Thompson, who the entire country is waiting for.
Thank you very much, Minister, and very good morning to everyone. It has been a long few days and lots of activity, and of course now we're faced by the information of a tropical storm that's rapidly developing and moving closer and closer to Jamaica. The latest bulletin that was issued this morning would have been bulletin number 29, that was issued at 11 o'clock. And just to give you an idea of some of the information that is there, while I'm hoping that we will be able to show a few slides, some images that I captured. The latest position was at 16.5 north and 75.1 west. Now that means that the system still has not moved very much. The movement has still only been about 2 miles per hour. And that has been the situation for the past 24 hours. No significant movement. There has been some strengthening, however, where the system has actually moved from storm at wind speeds of 45 kilometers per hour to 60 to 65, and now reaching 110 kilometers per hour. At 119 kilometers per hour, it would be classified as a hurricane. So it is really on the brink of becoming a hurricane, moving still toward Jamaica. The expectation, well, the system is currently moving toward the northwest, and that is, or west-northwest, and that is at just 1 mile per hour. And it is packing winds, as I said, of 110 kilometers per hour. Now that system is expected to continue moving toward the west-northwest. You would see one image here that gives you an idea of what the mass of clouds associated with the system look like. And if you look into that black area, at the center of the black, almost a circle, you'll see where the eye of the system is located. Very little movement, but it is drifting closer to the island of Jamaica, the eastern part of Jamaica, that's moving toward the northwest at only 1 mile or 2 miles per hour. Now it's expected to continue that motion throughout much of today, and then it is going to be moving toward the west, to move westward along the southern. Let me move to something that will show you a little bit more. Here we go. If we take a look at this, it might be a bit small for you, but those black circles indicate the position of the system in the projected track. So it's expected to move toward the west, and when it is south of Jamaica, south of Clarendon in particular, it's expected to start moving toward the north. At that time, it is expected to be, all this time it is expected to be a major hurricane, because what we're expecting after today is that there will be rapid intensification of this system. That's a phase that some of these hurricanes go through, especially in these days of climate change. We find that this rapid intensification is becoming much more frequent, where there's a period where they just jump from one category to the next in just a couple of hours. So this is what we are expecting to occur with Tropical Storm Melissa, soon to become Hurricane Melissa, and it will continue to move toward the southern coastline of Jamaica. It should make impact with the coastline by Tuesday morning. Today is Saturday morning, so we have about 3 days of movement. During this period, we will be experiencing quite a bit of rainfall, because the rains are expected to begin any time now. You would have experienced some brief showers already, but because of that cloud mass that you would see on the earlier image, I'll show you this one in a little while. Well, we can take a look at this closer one. You'll see that we are basically starting to experience the rainfall, Jamaica to the western side, the left side of the image. So the system will continue to advance closer to us. So we'll be into more of the oranges and the darker shades going into the black as we move through this weekend. So much of that rainfall will be moving across Jamaica, and that of course will be producing significant flooding over sections of the country. That is what would be expected with this amount of rainfall. The projection, I'll show you this chart, which shows us in that pink area. This is where the rainfall is expected what it's expected to look like, where the rain is concerned. And we're seeing that in the chart to the right, it shows 20 to 30 inches of rainfall. This is really an estimate. A better guide actually suggests that it will be more like 15 to 25 millimeters, 15 to 25 inches of rainfall that will move across Jamaica over the next few days. That is significant. When we have 2 inches of rainfall, it's whole heap of rainfall. So when we talk about 15 to 25, this is much more than, oh, that's somebody else's phone, I assume. Right, this is much more than you can even imagine to experience. This is a major rain-producing event. It is considered to be producing catastrophic flooding. In some cases, they say life-threatening. We have already heard about some lives being lost in Haiti, and this is because of this system. So we must take every precaution when it comes to the rainfall. If you are in any area that is flood prone, a low-lying area, you must find a way to build a relationship with somebody that will help you to move from that area, or move to those shelters as soon as they are open and make sure that you are able to ride out this whole system. Now, it's going to be here for a long time. This system, as I said from the earlier picture, lots of rainfall, and it will be with us for a good 5 days or so. Heavy rainfall, increasing wind speeds. We are expecting that storm force winds. I believe there is another image that I could probably show. If I got it in, probably not. But it shows that the tropical storm force winds are expected to start being experienced in eastern parts of the island by this evening. And then as we go through tomorrow, those storm force winds will continue right across the country. We expect that we will experience the hurricane force winds starting to impact the island on Monday morning. It's likely that it will be Monday morning. So we are going to go through almost 48 hours of storm force winds affecting sections of the island before the hurricane force winds actually begin to impact us. And that is expected to continue right through Monday, right through Tuesday, right through Wednesday. And then we could be starting to experience some weakening in terms of the wind speeds. But hurricanes have a way, even if the center has moved away from you, the impact of the system usually continues for another 2 days. So expect that throughout next week, we will be impacted by this system. It will be very difficult to move around. It will not be, even after the system has basically said that it is moving away. I had a discussion with representatives from the National Hurricane Center in the US just before I came here. And they were saying that the kind of rainfall that we're experiencing, that we will be experiencing, is going to prevent us from actually even doing some of the usual activities immediately after the system center moves off the island. We're going to be prevented because of blocked roads, because of landslides, because of the amount of water that remains over the country, that it's going to be very difficult to move around, assuming that all of this pans out the way that is being projected at this time. So it will be a major hurricane. What is projected right now is that it will be a Category 4 hurricane that makes impact on the island. It will likely decrease as it moves toward the north coast, but a Category 4 hurricane is more than we have experienced before moving across the island. Gilbert was a Category 3 hurricane when it moved over Jamaica. It became Category 4 when it was heading to the Cayman Islands. Ivan was a Category 4 hurricane, yes, but the center did not pass over the island. Beryl was also a Category 4 hurricane, but it also did not impact us with a landfall. It was a direct hit because we've got the heavy rainfall and the associated weather, but it did not move over the island in terms of the center of the system. We have not had this experience before, so it's important for us to consider this as an extraordinary situation. As you can see, the center is expected to move off the island later on Tuesday, but the conditions are expected to linger even as the situation, as the center or as the hurricane itself starts to move even over eastern Cuba. We will continue to experience spiral bands from the system moving across the island. Those can produce more torrential rainfall. Lots more of the flooding is likely to take place even after the eye of the system has moved off the country. So those are the images that I wanted to share with you at this time. There is also the concern of storm surge. This is something that is often overlooked, but we will recall that back in the time in 2004 with Hurricane Ivan, we had storm surge that completely demolished an entire community, Caribbean Terrace in St. Andrew, near to the Palisados area, but that community no longer exists in the way that it used to because of storm surge. We would also know that with Ivan and with Dean in 2007, and even with Beryl, we had significant storm surge on the southern coastline in Rocky Point, in Portland Cottage of Clarendon, and there are other areas on the south coast that also were affected by storm surge. Now, storm surge is also a flooding event, but it is not the flooding from the rainfall. It is flooding that comes in with the waters of the sea. With these tremendous winds that a Category 4 hurricane could produce, that will push the water onto the shoreline from the water of the sea onto the shoreline. And with it pulling back into the sea, it takes even houses and communities possibly back into the sea along with it. So if you are living anywhere near a coastline, it is important that you pay attention to the fact that storm surge is a real potential. What will make a difference in terms of how badly you're affected by the storm surge is where exactly the center makes landfall. On the right side, or the eastern side of that center, the storm surge will be at its maximum. So if the center of the system passes over western Clarendon, for example, along the coast, the eastern part of Clarendon will experience significant storm surge, and this could be up to like 8 feet or maybe more. So we will give you more details later in our later bulletins of the height of the storm surge. We'll try to see if we can also produce some maps that will indicate how far inland the storm surge will impact, so that those persons who are some distance from the coastline but still in the low-lying area would also have an idea of what to expect. Of course, that's where we are concerned with places, even in the St. Andrew, Kingston area, even coastal St. Catherine, that could be affected by storm surge. Port Royal comes to mind, and there are also communities associated with Portmore as you move toward the coast as well, that would be at risk from storm surge because of this system. As I said, it is it is what is called a catastrophic hurricane. That is what is expected to not only pass the island, but move directly over the island. I'm sure there will be some questions afterwards, but that's the information. Yes.
I'm going to keep you here, which is not usually the way we do things, usually wait until the end. But you gave a very important update, and it is extremely, extremely frightening. And so we want to take some questions. I know that we have one question already. Can I get the microphone so that we can get that question answered? So you're saying today we're going to feel rain. There's going to be rain.
Yes, we will start to experience some rain today, but tomorrow throughout the day is when we expect that the rain will increase. And so today is really the last day to do what you have to do on the outside.
Right.
Don't expect to do anything tomorrow or any time between now and next week Friday.
Okay. All right, let's take the first question. Thank you, Cheryl, for subbing today.
Thanks, Cheryl. Mr. Thompson, Arthur from the Jamaica upstairs.
Yes.
Quick check. You keep saying the eastern side, the western side will have rain. My granny in Trinityville, or my friend in Boston, which communities should start expecting rains. And where should we tell people move, evacuate? That's what we want to share, not just eastern and western. Which communities should we say move now?
All right. As the system, thank you, Arthur, for the question. As the system moves closer and closer to the island, we will start to experience the heavy rainfall. Mainly, I would start by saying in eastern parts of the island, but then I'll continue by saying parts of St. Thomas. I won't be able to name communities, but as we move across St. Thomas, Portland, the Kingston and St. Andrew area, that's where the rainfall is going to start. As it progresses, then we'll start to see St. Mary being included. All the communities in St. Mary will be moving over to St. Catherine, moving over to Clarendon and Manchester. and in the north to some extent St. Anne, but because the system is going to be approaching more from the southern side, below the country, if you're looking at the map, we're going to experience more of the rainfall at that point. As we go through Sunday and into Monday, the rainfall will become heaviest mainly St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, going across into St. Elizabeth and eventually Westmoreland to a lesser extent, slightly lesser extent. But as I mentioned before, we're talking about amounts of rainfall that you have not been accustomed to experiencing. And the other parts of the island will also get significant rainfall. Our bulletin had indicated that western parts of the island will also experience significant rainfall, which is also unusual, but most of it will occur over those parishes that were named. Parts of Trelawney, St. James, and Hanover will probably be a little bit less impacted, but let's not take that as comfort, because it will still be more rainfall than you bargained for.
All right. And there'll be
Surges now, the coastline areas.
coastal areas.
Coastal areas. Yeah, in terms of the storm surge, coastal areas, we are expecting that parts of Clarendon, St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew, and St. Thomas will be most impacted by the storm surge. So the coastal areas of those parishes should be really watching. I understand that our fishermen have for the most part, moved in. People are commenting that they're seeing all the fishers coming in, and I take that as a good sign. Hopefully they are securing their vessels and making sure that they would be able to ride out the storm at home.
All right, thank you very much. Was there any other question we had at this point for Evan? Okay, here we are, nationwide.
Yes.
Morning, Mr. Thompson. Morning, everybody. Mahiri Stewart, Nationwide News. I've heard a lot of warnings being given to persons that are in low-lying areas, but are persons in high areas also at risk, and if so, what should they do?
Of course. Thank you for your question, Mahiri. The hazards impact different areas in different ways. But if you are living in a hilly area, there is the landslide hazard that is a real possibility, is an eventuality. It is going to occur. We're going to have landslides, and some areas are well known for land slippages. Others might not be as well known, but because the soil is already basically saturated, and with the extent of rainfall expected, we're going to have more communities along hill slopes, steep hill slopes, that will be impacted by landslides. The matter of the wind is usually increased over hills. If you are living on a hillside or on a mountains, it's lovely views from there, but it also puts you at increased risk for wind damage. And that is because there is a resultant flow. Apart from the impact of the winds from the hurricane directly, there is the resultant flow in that what hits the ground also rises up the mountains and the hills. So you have that, both things coming together and adding to the extent of the wind speeds that are experienced over slopes. That will be mostly on the slopes toward the south side of the island, as the system progresses, because you will have more of the wind coming onto the coast from the south.
Right, so is it safe to then say that there's no quote-unquote ideal area to be in, given the fact that all areas seem to be affected in some way by the system?
Unfortunately, you are correct with that. There's nowhere that will escape the wrath of this hurricane. The impact may be somewhat lesser for the northwestern part of the island that would include Hanover, St. James, and Trelawney. Possibly the impact is going to be less, and maybe a part of at least the western part of St. Anne. But otherwise, it's going to be more. So they will still experience quite a number of these hazards affecting their area, but it may not be as much as those in St. Thomas, for example.
All right. One more question? Sure, that's fine.
Minister, just got one
Sure.
from one of our listeners who says, when you say 15 to 25 inches...
Stand up, please.
Oh, stand up.
Don't want to see your face on camera.
Evan, when you say 15 to 25 inches of rain, should that mean for the farmer in Mavis Bank or the person in Arborview? What does 15 to 25 inches of rain mean?
I wish I could even describe it because we don't normally get that kind of rainfall. But if you have experienced any of our major rainfall producers in the past, this is going to be more. You would recall when Hurricane Wilma was developing in 2005, some of us will recall, Hurricane Wilma developed off the southwestern coast of Jamaica in October as well. And while that was developing, there was so much rainfall over the island that there was widespread, extensive flooding over all parishes. That is, we are expecting more than Wilma. If you are thinking also of, there was Nicole that moved over. It did not make landfall to over Jamaica either. It was east of the island, but the rainfall that it was experienced across Jamaica was again significant. And if anyone can remember that event, that is also a good marker, but it is going to be more. We haven't seen this kind of, we have to bear in mind also, I should point out that with the slow movement of the system, it doesn't allow you to recover. It's not like it's going to just move off and then gradually the water runs off.